Today, I am sitting down with a very good friend, colleague for more than 10 years. Her name is Berna Jacobs. She is one of the most senior secondary market recruiters in the industry in Dubai. Berna, how are you?
I'm very fine. Thank you, Johnny. Nice to be here. Thank you for listening to me, hopefully not ramble.
That's not going to happen.
I
Definitely,
don't know.
it's definitely going to be rambling.
I had my coffee. I can talk.
I got a couple of questions we're going to go through. We're going to
Sure.
talk about the industry a little bit off the cuff. How do you feel about that? All good?
Feel good. Feel chatty. Hopefully can impart some good knowledge or good answers to you.
Okay,
Yeah. Let's
let's
get
crack.
going.
Let's go. What qualities do you look for specifically when you are going into the market looking for secondary market brokers?
I want to see soft skills. What are their soft skills like? How do they interact with other people? Um, the tenacity, the ability to weather the storm, how they deal with conflict. Do they show up for meetings on time? Are they coming to the interview on
Mm.
time? Those certain small little subtleties are, I think, really essential. So I look for those things, but overall, the bigger picture as well. If we're talking about experienced brokers specifically, I want to know where have they been focusing? Um, what have they learned in the previous company or companies that they have been with? What are some of the mistakes that they've overcome? How many? What's their portfolio of clients? Their networking abilities? All of those things make a broker successful, and those are the kind of brokers that I want.
Mm. Okay. Brokers are obviously salespeople.
Yep.
How do you know if someone is talking the talk or are they just selling themselves really well? How do you
Yeah.
how do you know? Obviously, it has to come from experience and you're in the industry how many years?
Ooh, 10.
10 years. So over the 10 years of experience, you, I guess, can tell fairly quickly if someone is actually worth their weight in gold, a
Yeah.
valuable asset to the company, or if they're just talking and telling you what you want to hear. So, how do you decide and figure out who is actually a senior broker worthwhile, experienced? They're
Yeah.
just selling themselves really well.
Of course. So there's a couple of things. I mean, I like to do a deep dive on people as well. Yes, I've been in the market for 10 years, so you kind of know some of the key players in the market already. But for sure, using Property Finder or Dubai Land Department, seeing transactional history, those things will tell you for sure whether a person is just talking the talk or whether they are actually quite credible. Reputation goes a long way. This is actually indeed a very small market. And if you've been in it for long enough, really you do get to know each other and a reputation does get built. But for sure, there's ways to dig around and have a look. Do they have an Instagram page? How many followers do they have? How active are they on social media? Again, DLD, how many transactions are listed over there?
Mm.
What does their property finder look like? Do they have True Check? As a recruiter, you have to do your homework as well. Often at times, I get swept up in conversations and I have got rose tinted glasses most of the time. I'm very optimistic. So I always like to see the good in people or the potential in what a person has. And you have to take a step back and really do your homework and make sure that the person you're busy interviewing um, is obviously credible.
In terms of credibility, then, are you looking for red flags? What red flags do you look for
Again,
in agents?
I've got rose tinted sunglasses, rose tinted glasses, and I tend to look for always the best in people. Um, I do think though this industry, there are red flags to look out for. Obviously, if a person jumps a lot, naturally, but then
By
again,
jumping a lot, you mean what?
moving from company to company in a very quick, couple of months, maybe 6 months here, 4 months there, year there, jumping a lot
So
does.
what does that tell you? Is that the company's problem or is it the broker's
It
problem?
can be both though, and you see this is where I'm a little bit more diplomatic. I do believe that you can get caught up in a company that is not great because of course that does happen in Dubai as well. You can work for excellent companies, you can work for companies that just are not the right fit for you. So I take a more balanced approach.
So like Instagram versus reality. On the outside, they look 10 out of 10, but on the inside, when you actually get in and get your desk, get your chair, get your phone, get your manager, then you figure out there's a few gaps and there's
Few
things
gaps.
missing and you can't actually have the tools, or you're not given the tools properly, you're not given the training to
Yeah.
actually perform well.
For sure. I think, again, I like to take an overall look at things because I also do think it comes down to individual person. I think if you've got the drive and the hunger and the desire, you can take any person and they can perform in any environment. Although I will always still meet a person, even though there are red flags, and hear their story and see perhaps maybe our team and our environment and our management structure, which is fantastic, by the way. We really have got a very, very good managerial structure in place, a tiered one, as well as a comprehensive training program. Perhaps this is what the broker
Mm,
needs. Maybe they need to have that managerial structure and training program in place to make them succeed.
yeah.
So, yeah, it just depends. I think it really depends from case to case.
And in terms of case to case, obviously over the years we've hired people that would be a mistake. We've hired people that have gone on to
Yeah.
be massively successful and made millions. And even in some cases, plenty of people have gone on to open up their own company and
Yeah.
replicate over and over again and then start hiring. But um, what mistakes do you think some brokerages make when hiring brokers?
I mean, to be fair, I've not really hired very many brokers that are mistakes because I'm a good recruiter.
It's true. She's
But
not laying for one.
no, I'm joking. I think, sometimes, and this is not the popular opinion perhaps, but experience is good. I do like taking people as a blank canvas and then creating a broker from scratch, which often outperforms. So I think some of the mistakes that could happen are taking people that maybe look good on paper, perhaps, or not having done homework. I think that's a big thing. Maybe you're in an interview and the person does talk the talk, and you do hire them. You jump the gun without doing your due diligence and without checking them first to see if they are actually credible. In those instances, that is making a mistake.
Hmm.
And then you bring them on board, and they fall flat because either they've jumped a lot, and there's a reason why people do jump, and then you bring them on board without doing your homework, for example, and then it just doesn't work out. Look, it's difficult. Sales, I want to say hiring sales brokers in my career, I've worked in different industries. I think it's perhaps the hardest role to hire for.
Mm.
Um, there is no sort of, if you're hiring an accountant, do they have an ACCA? Do they have a CPA? Do they have a degree? Blah, blah, blah. There are things that you can fall back on and have a look at their credibility. For sales, it's a person's tenacity and it's their willingness to, and their hunger and the desire to succeed. That's really hard
Mm.
to ascertain from an interview. It's very difficult. So I think that it's a tricky role to hire for sure.
Obviously, as recruiters, it's our responsibility to build the teams,
Yeah.
fill up managers with X amount of brokers. Brokers sell properties, commission comes in, company can function. Um, in your opinion, and I'm throwing a curveball at you here, obviously, I like to keep you on your toes. Um, how important is it for you to bring in a super successful broker
Mm.
who is going to add or take away from company culture?
Ooh.
So I'd say maybe those super successful brokers that might be a disruptor. They
Mm.
are great for the company. They're great for commission numbers and hitting targets and stuff like that. But maybe they mightn't fit in with the company culture. So there's a fine line. And
Yeah.
has there been instances in the past where you have met someone who is successful broker that potentially would be a good hire, but would not fit into a team strategy, a company culture, might not have the right ethos or mentality
Mm.
for what we want to do when we're building teams so that everyone gets along, everyone is successful, there's collaboration between the teams, and that the managers are happy to work with this person every day and not go, I really prefer if that person wasn't on my team, even though they're bringing in X amount of money. So how important is a successful broker versus successful culture inside a sales team or on a sales floor?
I think culture is everything at the end of the day. I would probably not be hiring a person who doesn't fit into the right ethos or mentality or mold of the company. It's very disruptive. And, if you bring on a person who disrupts, you're not just losing business from one or two individuals. That person sits around and disrupts everybody around them, and that's revenue streams for every other person there. And don't forget that every other person is on their own personal journey. They're going to be superstars, hopefully, and you're taking away their ability to be superstars if you're going to be hiring a disruptive person. Um, luckily, you don't really find many people in this industry, by far and large, that are not of the same culture and mindset. Everybody in real estate should be, or at least is on a similar wavelength of busyness, attitude towards working. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a commission-based position, right?
Mhm.
So you have to be willing to work and to graft and pick up the phone and call and, put yourself out there. That's the kind of person anyway that we are going to be looking at hiring.
Yeah.
And this is a similar mentality that should be shared among the peers. So you wouldn't really be looking for a person who doesn't fit that mold anyway. If a person tends to be a loner and they really want to do their own thing and, you know, um, focus on their own sales, not really the person who would be fitting the mold that we're looking for, really.
But it's a tough one for us as recruiters in HR, because we're obviously tasked with bringing in people that are going to make money
Yeah,
to keep the company going, keep the doors open, pay our salaries. As you mentioned, these people are commission only, so um, there's a very fine line between bringing in the right people and bringing in people that are going to make money.
yeah,
So obviously, we need to sell
yeah.
unique to brokers. We need to tell them that we have a great culture in this company. We have a great culture because what would you say, or how would you explain to a broker who's going to join Unique that the benefits and the advantages of joining Unique as opposed to one of our competitors is
Yeah.
because we have a great culture? What is a great culture?
I think a great culture is one that people can obviously thrive in a happy and healthy way. Um,
Healthy competition,
Healthy competition and also a healthy working environment, right? So you
collaboration, yeah.
collaboration with your colleagues, having those team meetings. Do people come to work on time? What sort of um, communication is very, very important. So how's the communication flow going? Do you really have team meetings? How often do the team meetings happen? What is discussed in team meetings? Those are very important. Are you discussing hot stock? What are some of the hot buyers that you have? Those the collaboration between your colleagues is so vital. At the end of the day, you don't really want to breed a culture where a person is their individual and they're only focused on their buyers, their sellers, it's one. You really want to be working with other people in a marketplace as such, where you are collaborating and, oh, you've got a hot buyer that's just come up. Great. Do you have a hot stock? Let's close this together. You want that collaboration. And this is what we are trying very hard to achieve. And I think what we have achieved already, and obviously we are on the road to even further greatness. So I think that, the corporate culture or the culture that we're trying to breed
Mhm.
is that work hard, work collaboratively, come to work, show up, look sharp, be in this environment of productivity, surround yourself by success. There's that whatever the research shows that if you're surrounding yourself by other high performers, you tend to be a high performer yourself, or
Yeah,
you will inevitably, get there. This is what we're trying to instill.
yeah.
Soak up from the other people that are successful. Surround yourself by them. Listen to their
Mm.
conversations. How do they do it? How have they gotten their clients? How have they managed to sell a whole building? What are they busy doing?
Yeah, so a lot of companies would contact brokers and sell them on the benefits of the in-house tools that they
Yeah,
have. We have this CRM, we have this property portal package, but essentially some of your best tools that you can offer are the actual people that are already working there, that
100%.
you can collaborate with, you can learn from, you can go out on viewings from, you can be mentored by, you can hear them on the phones, you can hear them negotiate. Those people are your greatest asset. So
Massively.
you really have to be careful with who you're bringing in to make sure that they add into the success of those people, rather than energy drainers, sappers, people that just drain the energy out of
Massively.
it, which would then lead to these successful brokers not even wanting to come to the office because I am too busy. I don't want to be asked to do this or do that, or have these questions. I want someone who's going to come in and drive me on to the next level and get me
Yeah.
up to the next target, because maybe they want to change a lot of real estate brokers that I notice now they're all buying properties and they're starting to build their portfolios, and it's amazing that they're having this success. So they're focused on money, success, building their property portfolios and creating generational wealth for themselves
Yeah.
and their families. By doing that, they're actually experiencing what they're trying to sell themselves to their clients and to their brokers. So successful brokers who are going through that are going to be able to speak to investors and buyers on a different level
Yeah. Yeah.
as opposed to someone who isn't as successful.
Which then again leads to their credibility as a broker. So you want to always see this evolution of a person coming on board, where you start your sort of middle bit, or that, first year of heavy grafting, putting the work in. The second year comes with more of a little bit more of a reward. The third year that a broker is in, you see bigger successes, massive successes. And that's when they start purchasing property or investing in certain things. And
Mm.
for sure, this leads to a person's credibility and their ability to speak to their clients on a different level. Yeah, it's beautiful to watch actually a
Mm.
person's evolution.
Yeah. Um, and obviously then there's people that you hired years ago that you would still be good friends with or family
Oh, for
friends with, or
sure,
you,
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. People that would go way back when I first started off in real estate in 2015, I think. Yeah.
yeah, that's when we met.
I know. And it's such a small industry. If you've been in it for long enough, we all know each other,
Mm.
or we all know of each other. Or we've got friends of friends, or whatever. So it's really nice to see everybody's evolution over the years and see where they are now and all the obstacles that they've had to overcome. The market, which has been up, down, left, right, COVID, Expo, weathering all of the storms, and to see where people are
Trump
now.
tariffs.
Oh,
Let's see how they're going to affect things.
yeah. Well,
Um, are successful brokers born or are they made?
Interesting. I
I
think,
remember hearing a famous Irish sports star say that he wasn't born the best. He was just obsessed at becoming the best. And I've worked with some brokers who would be classed as top 10, top 20
yeah,
in Dubai. We've both worked with them. Um, I don't know one guy who technically doesn't really need to work anymore. He's made millions, but he's still one of the first people in the office after he drops his kids to school, and he's one of the last out. And he just grafts and he puts in the effort every single day.
I think this is just coming down to that natural born
Yeah,
inclination. That is how he is. I think you can have a little bit of both, right? You can have that natural born desire and I don't want to say aggression because that's the wrong kind of word, but the sort of the tenacity to succeed. People are driven by different motivating factors, right? Perhaps this person, their motivating factor is just putting in the legwork and having that monetary reward. And I do think, though, that it can also be, what is it, born or bred? I think that you can be
born.
trained into it as well. You can have the mindset, or sorry, um, the mindset of where you want to go. You might not have that inner mega drive, but you can have certainly the skill sets, the analytical mindset, and know that this is where you want to get to. How you're going to get there, what tools you're going to use, because may not come naturally, but then you use other things to your power. Everybody's got their own individual superpowers. It's just about tapping into it and trying to get to the end result. So I think it's a little bit of both, really. I mean, I've worked with a guy in my previous experience who didn't have, the natural born tenacity and hunger and desire. But boy, oh boy, did he become one of the top three in the company, mega successful. But he was just incredibly analytic and knew how to tap into the right markets, speak to investors on a different way, different level, and leverage that for his success. And he did. And he is still continuing to do so. And he is incredibly successful.
So personality and drive, ambition, maybe family upbringing, all super important. You don't just necessarily have to come with sales skills
No,
or sales
100%
soft.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be added on and taught. So obviously we now have our 8-week unique training academy, which is now in full swing, um, which is one of our USPs, which is great. But um, when speaking to potential new brokers who are going to join us at Unique, how do you help them to decide on which brokerage is best for them? what defines the perfect place for this person to work. And obviously it's case by case. Every single recruit that you're talking to, or candidate that you're talking to, or potential new broker is going to join us, they're window shopping.
Yeah.
They're not going to just go and join the first company that comes along. Some of them do because it's a correct fit. Same with a buyer. They see a house, it ticks every single box, and they are decisive and they make the decision and they buy it straight away. But it's very, very rare and seldom, unless the person has been very diligent and done their homework. So a lot of people that are maybe not even thinking about moving, they're happy where they are. How do you explain to them or show them or let them see that a move to Unique would be a good decision for them?
Of course.
Based on what, or how do you describe it to them?
So there's a couple of things. Firstly, I believe in the product. I believe in the company. Of course, I work here, and that
It always
itself,
helps.
it definitely does help. I mean, I've been in an agency before working with numerous clients, and where you don't believe in the clients, you don't believe in the product, and that's really a tough sell. I think Unique have got fantastic
Honesty and
selling
transparency,
points.
basically.
Honesty, transparency. Look, I want to say that there's a couple of things. The company itself has been around since 2008. Therein already lies the fact that its ability to weather the storms is there. We're one of the few companies that have been around for that long in real estate. Um, Armin and Arash have got a fantastic name for themselves already in the market. We work with major key developers, have got fantastic relationships with them. So that you've got all of these things already there, factually, not fabricating.
Foundations,
This is fact. So
super strong
it's
foundation.
already there, super strong foundation. And, it's not just making things up.
But they're real estate people.
They're real estate people. And
We obviously spoke with someone yesterday who was thinking about leaving their current job.
yeah,
And they had been at a successful real estate company. Then they moved to a smaller company for a bigger salary. And obviously things didn't work out. And you and I both asked him, who are the owners of the company? And the owners of the company are people that are wealthy from a different industry, decided we want to open a real estate company, and they have X amount of money, but they have no experience at real estate. Maybe they own some property, but they don't know about what it takes
to buy real
be a
estate.
broker or Dubai real estate. They see
Yeah.
these TV shows and they go, oh, let's open up a brokerage. It's easy. You can get a license and get an office space and fill it and we'll make millions.
Yeah.
It's not like that.
No.
And the fact that Armin and Arash are real estate people.
Have walked the walk. They've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
their
really
their
makes a
decision
big.
making is based on having lived and worked in the same industry themselves. So anytime I go and ask them, can we do this? Can we do that? Arash is like, do it.
Yeah.
Do
Makes
it.
sense.
He
We've all
understands
done
it.
it.
Whereas, as explained to us yesterday by the person that we were interviewing, some of the challenges were, and his exact words were, the owners just got cold feet because he doesn't see what needs to be done to get from A to B because he hasn't done it himself. So it's very important that you actually get into the trenches. You go to the viewings and the appointments in the middle of summer when there's no AC on, and you suffer through all that and you learn all that experience, and you figure out that when I open my company, I'm going to have my brokers working doing the same thing. How can I make it better for them? What will improve things? What will make their lives easier?
You know what? Just to add to that, I think that with people who are not from the industry, it's unrealistic expectations of when success is supposed to happen. Real estate is a long-term game. You don't get rich overnight. It doesn't happen. And teams, especially new teams, it takes a while to get going. But then when it gets going, it really gets going and things are very lucrative. I've always said the longer you're in the game, the more successful you're going to be. That is true for companies as well as brokers. It's very, very true. And I think that sometimes with, say, for example, this person who we interviewed, the foresight and understanding that it is a long-term goal is not there. And then they get cold feet because perhaps they haven't seen the monetary reward in these 6 months that they've given it. It doesn't take 6 months. It takes 2 years at least, minimum.
They're also treating it as a side hustle because they have their own industry and they have their own companies. They have surplus of cash and they decide because they met someone who has a real estate company or opened one or
Yeah.
asked them to go halves or something like that. And they're never really, well, some of them are successful, but the majority of them are not. And the amount of people that I've interviewed over the years that have gone to these smaller companies, owned and run and set up by people that are not real estate people,
Yeah.
and crashed and burned and failed. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Um, so it's great to work in a company owned by people that are real estate people.
Yeah, and I think then circling back to it, so the company has obviously been around for a while. The owners are from a real estate background. We then also do have the training academy and continued training. I'm a big fan of Chris and Andre's training that they give every week or every other week. They come together and they have great group training sessions, and it is very collaborative. First off, the last one that we did, we had a pop quiz just to see everybody's knowledge. I didn't score too badly, thankfully, but taking from the quiz and understanding where people were falling short, he then created a great training session,
Mm.
and it was so interactive, and we learned so much from this. And that happens on a monthly basis. So we've got not only initial training development, which is great, but we've got the continual development every month, every week, whenever we've got these trainings that our managers give. And they're so in depth, knowledge rich, coming from experience, and as a collaboration. After all, we're all in this. I want to say classroom. It's maybe just a room, and all collaborating, sharing ideas, sharing experiences, sharing knowledge. At the end of the day, and that's what you want. Really, you want this environment where it's a safe space to talk about things that you don't know. A lot of people are too scared to raise their hand at other industries or other companies and go, "Oh, what's a Form A? What's a Form F?" Or, whatever it may be. And, they've never been showed the ropes, and it's just
Yeah.
expected.
So
You
now
need
we have a culture of learning
culture of
built
learning.
built into the sales teams.
Yeah.
So everyone is open and happy to go through training courses. They don't traditionally, if you ask someone to go to training, they see it as punishment.
Yeah.
And they would kind of go, why am I being sent to this? Why am I being punished? Whereas these days, we're announcing that there's a training session on, people are signing up themselves.
Participating and so yes, I understand. I think it's two-part. Some people can view it as an I know everything, I don't need to do this. But I think that where we come from is yes, you do know everything, impart your knowledge to your peers who might not do it. So there is that respect and understanding that you've got the knowledge, let's empower our other colleagues who may not have it. So it's that kind of environment. Yeah, it's very,
With the likes of the quiz and gamifying the learning, it makes it more interesting and
of
it kind
course.
of appeals to the younger generation. Why are they the best broker?
Mm. One person stands out specifically, young, hungry, was working for a company that was kind of changed hands a couple of times. Management changed hands. They didn't really have a clear vision of where they wanted to go. Great for me. I mean, I just swooped in and brought this broker on board, had a great structure in place, and this person just thrived. They just took to the environment. Um, Obviously, was a great culture fit for what we had. Um, Very successful, top within I think the second month he was smashing the targets, top of the game every single month. Bim, bim, bim. Some months more, some months maybe he'd be second or third. Went on to be promoted, currently still in the promoted position and thriving, absolutely thriving. And this is what you want. You really want to see. I'm very passionate about bringing people on board, giving them the opportunity, and seeing how they do. At the end of the day, you just want to make winners, really. You want
Mm.
people to be successful. It's as simple as that. You want people to be successful. I love seeing people's success. So he's definitely one of them. I think from back office, definitely hired somebody at a position that they were. I've seen them be promoted and having them have raises numerous times, and they are top of the game at the moment, which is so rewarding to see.
Um, what would you say is your harshest lesson that you've learned
In real
in the
estate,
industry in real
so
estate?
many. There's so
What
many
but
harsh
what's
lessons.
the harshest one you've learned?
Hiring again the wrong people for the role, wrong culture fit, and that can come down to numerous things. You can't always be perfect. You can't always have the perfect record of hiring agents. I mean, we all in HR know this. Without doing due diligence, I suppose. But seeing the wrong person in the environment, and that really hurts a team. Oh my goodness, does it hurt a team? And I mean, you just have to act really quickly when that does happen and you realize within a month, 2 months that you've hired the wrong person. Poof, you have to get them out. Otherwise, it really does damage.
Yeah.
That's a harsh lesson. I think another harsh lesson for real estate specific is it changes so quickly. The environment changes, and um, having to be quick on your feet. But I think now I've gotten to that point. I think early on it was quite challenging to be quick on your feet. Real estate is so different from other industries that I've worked. So my background, I know a lot of recruiters out there come as brokers and then transition into real estate. I'm from a formal recruitment background, started off as a resourcer within an agency recruitment, doing oil and gas and banking. Moved up to, again, I think finance background, and then I switched over into in-house recruitment within real estate. Because coming from a different background, resourcing or as a recruiter in finance or in banking or oil and gas, it's so different. Real estate is so hard. It's so hard to recruit. I worked at Deloitte, and that was a joy. I did enjoy working at Deloitte for quite a long stint. This is challenging. Real estate is challenging because again, you can't benchmark a person.
Yeah.
How do you put quantify what makes a good salesperson a good salesperson? It's based on gut feeling.
Yeah, but 99.99% of the recruitment industry, apart from real estate, you judge whether you're going to join that company or not based on the salary that you're going to get.
The salary and reputation, I would
Yeah.
say.
The
Yeah.
position you're going to get, the team you're going to manage, the salary you're going to get, the benefits and the perks that come with the job. Are you going to get stocks? Are you going to get shares? Are you going to get bonuses? Are you going to get incentives? Are you going to get healthcare, dental, whatever it is? And that's what you benchmark. In real estate, there's no salary. So you really have to sell someone on the individual
company.
benefits, the company, the people that are there, the culture that's within the company, your manager. And these days, anybody can go straight onto LinkedIn, they can go straight onto Instagram, and they can see who's working there, who the manager is. They can see what deals are being closed. They can see
Yeah.
what sort of vibe is going on in the place. So before you even get to speak to that person, in 5 minutes, they can jump on social media and research the company and find out everything. And they will make a quick decision on whether they want to talk to you or not. Or they will have or heard feedback from a broker that they've done a deal with, or they've done a split commission with, or that they've worked with in the past. They'll text them. Everyone uses WhatsApp. It's like, what's it like over at Unique? Is it good or is it bad?
Yeah.
And bad news and bad information travels fast.
Does travel very fast.
What's your opinion on joining the secondary market as opposed to off-plan? I mean, over the last 4 or 5 years since COVID, there's been a massive boom in off-plan in Dubai. Obviously,
Yeah.
we're a 17-year-old company that has primarily been focused since its start on off-plan. We have possibly the strongest connections with the top developers in the industry. We're obviously a year and a half down the road now with our secondary market team. Everything is going well. But how would you sell secondary market to an agent who wants to do off-plan? How do you compare? How do you measure up the advantages and disadvantages?
I'm very passionate about secondary markets right off the bat. I prefer secondary a lot more than off plan.
Why?
Just because it's what I've been doing for so long. I'm very familiar with secondary, and I think it fits my personality. I think that off plan has got a different personality. It's got a different vibe. The vibe of secondary and the personality of secondary is where I see myself a little bit more aligned. Um, Secondary, you get paid quicker, obviously, when a deal transacts and when it, finalizes, if it is mortgage, or whatever the case may be, it's done. With off plan, it may take longer depending on the payment terms. So that initially is a big benefit for
That can
secondary
suit some
market.
people and it might
It's different people. Different people gravitate towards secondary, different people gravitate towards off plan. There are big advantages. You're not selling sand in secondary. You're selling something that is there. You can see a house's personality, you can see who's lived in it, you can create the story, you can whatever. It's there, it's
Yeah.
tangible.
Remember someone saying before, you sell when you're working in property and stuff, you're selling on emotion. So
Yeah.
especially in secondary market, somebody can walk in, they can actually see it, touch it, smell it,
Yeah.
feel what it's like, walk out the back garden, walk into the apartment, see the view. You get an emotional reaction. Wow, that view is amazing, or that garden is safe, or that garage is huge. I've got 3 cars, or this road is really quiet, or whatever. It it it's emotion.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder in off plan to try and sell something that's rendering or
Yeah.
a floor plan.
But it's different. I mean, obviously, I can sell off plan too. My job is to sell both sides to it. So,
It
there
depends on the
are
broker as well.
depends on who
I
they are.
remember years ago hiring one girl from the UK, and we put her into the marina. We thought that's where she'd be perfect. She was young, she was hungry, she had a sales background, and the office was in the marina. We thought marina's going to be
Great,
perfect
great,
for her. Everything ticked the
great.
box. And after a couple of weeks, she turned around and she said, to be honest, I don't visualize my career in real estate working with investors. I want to work with families.
For the
And I want to work with
community.
families who are looking for a home.
Mm.
I don't want to be just numbers and investors. I actually want to see people happy. So she pretty much wanted to work on the emotional side of selling, because she
Yeah.
wanted to work with people and make people happy, not work with investors who were just buying for ROI, profit,
Yeah.
renovate and sell. So again, depends on the broker.
Depends on the broker. And the beautiful thing with us is that we do offer both. We have got this very strong off-plan team, strong relationships, and obviously secondary. We've got fantastic management over there, and we've been around, like you said, for about 2 years. We can easily have a person in secondary that have got clientele that they wish and their clientele wish to buy in off plan. Well, that's great. You can still be in secondary and have your buyer buy an off plan, because we have got the relationships, we've got the team, the network, the ability to cater to our secondary market buyers that may be interested in. So we really do have the best of both worlds, I would say. Um, and, some people have joined in secondary, built themselves up, and then at some point in their career, they've wished to step away and become more investor focused and dealing with the ROIs and the numbers and the facts and the figures. And then they go on their path to off plan.
Yeah.
That's super fine. You should always be wanting to evolve. And either you evolve in secondary and you become, this powerhouse broker who knows everything that there is to know inside and out about secondary, great. Or I've seen people evolve into off plan, and then you really have got the best of both worlds.
I think it's one of our unique selling points as well, that if you do go onto the secondary market team and you do have a buyer who does want to buy off plan, you have almost 200 brokers
Yep.
working in off plan. You have a company with 17 years of relationships built,
Reputation.
reputation
Yeah.
with these developers, that if as a secondary market broker you do have an investor, maybe you work with a family and they sell their house and they're moving back home, but they want to buy an apartment or two in Dubai as investment properties before they move back, or someone who's just a homeowner living in the house.
Yeah.
Maybe they got a bonus, maybe they got a little windfall and they want to invest an off-plan property.
Studio in JVT, whatever it
Exactly.
would be. Yes.
You're at a very unique advantage, in unique, no pun intended, that you have a huge, very strong off-plan
Yeah.
market and team that you can lean on. You've got managers with God knows how many hundreds of years of experience between them. Um, and as a secondary market broker, you can sell off plan.
Yeah.
You're not boxed off into only selling secondary market.
Of course. Take your
Uh,
buyer wherever
So
they're going.
that's a very good USP of joining Unique as well.
Yeah.
Berna,
Wow.
what a chat.
I know.
I didn't think we had that much
I know.
info.
Need another coffee after
Ru-
that. Wow. Great chat. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you very much. We'll do it again soon, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Have you got any last message you'd like to say to the agents of Dubai who might be looking around? thinking about
Definitely.
your
I think
company?
that I love coffee and I love meeting people. So I think if you're looking
She has about 4 coffees a day.
I know, right? It's ridiculous, but no, seriously, I think that Unique is such a great company, and there's no harm in having a cup of coffee and seeing what we have, really understanding the ins and outs, and adding that to a person's option list. So hit
Yeah,
me up.
call
Let's
'em.
have a chat.